Department of Enterprise Services, and hopefully I can get that out of my mouth at one time. Today we're here to look at the designs for the 1063 block project. I'm not sure if we're officially calling that or not, but anyway, just to run through a little bit of history for this. In 2013, the legislature initiated the 1063 block replacement project through an appropriation to enterprise services in the capital budget for the 2013 to 15 biennium. The budget included language about pre-design, design, project management, demolition, and other planning activities related to the replacement of an existing state-owned building at 1063 South Capitol Way in Olympia. Tonight, we're here to give you a status report about the project. I can tell you that Enterprise Services is moving ahead to review proposals for the three teams of architectural design and construction professionals sitting here in the front row. Before we start, I want to recognize various state and local officials. Hopefully, if they're here, Representative Sam Hunt. Oh, he's outside. So
just came in.
Representative Hunt. And then we have Olympia Mayor Steve Bucksbaum. Steve, are you here?
Back there.
Okay. And then we also have former Olympia Mayor Bob Jacobson. Bob, how are you doing? We also have representatives from three design and construction teams who are going to make presentations about their individual proposals. Afterwards, the teams will take questions about their submittals. Our selection process remains confidential. In fact, I have not even seen the team submittals myself. I also want to stress that participation in tonight's meeting has no effect, good or bad, on how we score the proposals. Later this month, Enterprise Services expects to announce the apparent successful team. Beyond selecting an apparent successful team, we are exploring our options regarding the overall 1063 block replacement project. I anticipate you're going to have lots of questions about the project. We'll do our best to try and answer what we can, but there's still a lot of unknowns about the project. We are capturing your questions by flip chart, way over there. And we'll take the information to update our FAQ, or frequently asked questions, on our website about the project. So if we don't get to your question this evening, or we'll have a more complete answer on our website. We also have several experts who are here to help answer your question. Sandy Triggs from the Office of Financial Management. Sandy, you want to raise your hand? Right there. And we also have from the Department of Enterprise Service, Tom Henderson, who's the Assistant Director of Facilities and Grounds. Finally, I want to introduce and turn the meeting over to Rick Browning, our project manager. Rick?
Thank you, Chris. Good evening. I'm truly delighted to be here tonight. This is the end of, or almost the end of the first phase of this project, almost a year in maturation, starting with the 2013 legislative session, where, as Chris Liu mentioned, the project received its definition and DES received marching orders to go out and identify a winning team and submittal. And so that's what we're here to talk about tonight and to share some of that with you. This is a very special and rare opportunity. It's not too often you get to travel to parallel universes and see alternative futures, but that's what we're going to see tonight. We're going to see three different sort of alternative realities for this site right here. And this is the only graphic I'm going to show you. You're going to be inundated with graphics by the three teams tonight. This is the only one I'm showing you. But I think you're all familiar with the site. There's our Capitol campus and the Homestead lawn. There's our site, and there's the GA building. So there are certain metrics to the project, as Director Liu alluded to. Let me go over just a couple of those. It was established by legislation. It was very specific legislation and included some of these things. We are going to be demolishing those two buildings you saw on the site to create a full block site and get an alley vacation as well. The building by legislative decree must be between 200 and 225,000 square feet. Its main tenant by legislative decree will be Washington State Patrol. We are putting 2 other tenants, legislative agencies and portions of OFM in the building as well. They're occupying smaller areas. It's high performing, again by legislative definition. It's going to have a 5-year energy guarantee that, as far as we know, is going to be the first of its type in the entire country. We're sort of out on the bleeding edge with that guarantee from the design build team to the state, the owner, that the building will perform to certain standards over the first 5 years. And also by legislative decree, we will use the design build delivery system to bring this project to fruition. So perhaps one other thing I might mention that's not up here. You will not be seeing any parking in conjunction with this project tonight, and that too was included in the legislation. And the thinking there is, with 6,000 spaces on the Capitol campus, there's sufficient parking resource to take care of this building. And I might add, I'm going to go back here for a second. This building, the GA building, which is 280,000 square feet, so much larger than our project, is going to be closed at the completion of this one. So we're moving people out of that building and into this building, and then emptying the building out and mothballing it for future demolition. So that should make you feel a little better about that parking resource idea. We will no longer have the parking load from that building. So design build, let's talk about that for just a second. It may be a somewhat new concept to some of you, and the teams tonight are all design build teams. The traditional model on your left there is an owner going to an architect and asking them to come up with the design and construction documents, which the architect and the owner then take to builders who look at them, provide bids. The owner makes arrangements with the builder, and they start construction. And you can see the kind of parallel vertical structures that creates with sub-consultants on both the architect and the contractor teams. By contrast, design build is a more streamlined system where the architect and the other design professionals are in close partnership with the contractor from day one, from the very first. So that allows, on the one hand, the architect and other design professionals to get very quick and honest feedback on construction feasibility and cost for their ideas. And it gives the builder the ability to respond very quickly to complex demands from the owner by going to his design team and immediately collaborating on solutions. So it's quite efficient. It has some great strengths. Along with those great strengths, there are also some things that are not as strong. The strengths that you will see tonight are simply these submittals themselves. I think you will be impressed. The state has not 1, not 2, but 3 very high quality submittals to choose from. The less strong areas, one I might mention is, up to this point, because it's been a confidential process, a competition between 3 fierce competitive teams, we haven't been able to share with the public the details of these submittals. But tonight, you are going to get an overview of what these teams have been just putting literal blood, sweat, and tears into for the last 3 months. So I know they're anxious to share that with you. I might mention that the term bid is often applied to these sorts of procurements, and we really don't have a bid situation here with these submittals. The state instructed each of the teams to spend all of the project budget, which for the building is $65.5 million out of a total $82 million budget. the other portion going towards owner's expenses and staff. So that's $65.5 million. Each of these projects, you'll see, that's the price tag for the project. Instead of looking for a low-cost building, we were looking for the highest value, the highest performance we can get with these submittals, and that is what we're going to be grading on. So that leads me to the submittal evaluation process. I want to demystify that for you just a little bit. That is currently going on. I want to be clear about that. We have not made a selection. So we're here to take comments and questions tonight, and for the next several days, we have not made a selection. Here's a summary of the published evaluation criteria in the request for proposal document that has been the three teams' Bible guiding them through this process. That RFP document is available for anyone to look at online. You can access it very easily from the public web page of DES. It's right there on the surface, on the first splash page you see. But this summary tells you how many points we're awarding for these different criteria and a little bit about the criteria. I don't think I'm going to read through them. They're pretty simple, simply expressed. They're actually not very simple to apply, believe me. But simply expressed, the one I might mention is the proposed fee. That is not construction cost. That is the profit that the design build team would take away from this. So the money they would put in their pocket at the end of the project for a job well done. And each team has proposed a separate percentage. And we are scoring according to, again, best value for the state. Therefore, the team that would be giving us the least fee in that section would score the highest. We have 9 voting selection committee members. They are not all state employees. We have a number of members who are in private practice. They are architects, landscape architects, engineers, construction managers, finance analysts. It's a very august, well-credentialed group, and I have a lot of confidence that we're going to get to the best, highest value, all-around best submittal for the state with this group. We will be making that final decision, just so you know, in a session on the 26th, and we expect to announce an apparent winning team on the 28th of this month. So with that, you want to see the team's work, not my PowerPoint slides. I'd just like to get to the rules of the game for tonight, as far as getting us out of here around 9. It's a school night. I know lots of people need to get home. So what we've set up is this. When I finish talking, we're going to have about 10 minutes of time, if we need it, for general questions that don't relate to the specifics of the submittals. You haven't seen them yet, so you have trouble asking questions. At least, I hope you haven't seen them yet. It's supposed to be confidential. So you will be the first people to see these submittals other than the evaluation committee and our inside subject matter experts. Each team will have half an hour, which is not much, to go through a very concise, high-level overview of the highlights of their submittal. Directly following that, we'll have a 15-minute question and answer period, and I'd like to ask you to focus your comments and questions on that submittal you just saw and keep them reasonably concise so that as many people as possible can get a chance to speak and ask a question. However, if you're like me and you come up with the brilliant comment or question at 3 a.m., fully formed, don't despair. We've got a number of methods for you to get your comments in later, and we will be responding to all comments, probably by creating a summary, frequently asked questions sheet and posting it on our project website. You have several days to get your questions and comments in should you not be able to do that tonight, or should you have more. The project website has a link to our project mailbox. That address you see, the second blue line, that's our project mailbox. You don't really need to write it down. You can get to our project site, you can get that address. Either of those two methods is good. You're welcome to call me personally. That's my number on my desk. If you don't reach me, leave a message, and we will throw those comments and questions in with everything else we're responding to. If you want to write a letter, you can write a letter. Some of you like paper, maybe. There's our mailing address. So we'll try and do a quick wrap-up after the last team. There might be a bit of change-out time. I think each team is using their own computer. And I'm going to, I think, stop talking at this point and ask if there are any general questions about the process today, and then we'll see if we can get those answered before we launch the first team. Any questions at all? Yes.
Yeah. I do have some questions. I also have some comments. Is that all right?
Well, I just go back to the concise request, but of course, please.
Well, I'll try. What I'm concerned about tonight, and I make reference to my notes here, is that I don't see any follow-on opportunity for a community conversation about this project. You indicated you would be making your decision in about a week. One of the reasons I submitted a public records request late last month was to get a look at the alternatives being proposed, along with a few other folks, in time to formulate our reactions to them, and maybe even come up with some opinions or have time to consider how we might like to see our favorite changed before we came here tonight. What I got for my trouble was a flurry of emails and the restraining order, but I understand that now tonight because this is not being officially taped live, and for that reason is that these have been very confidential proposals up to this point. But after tonight, even though you may hold the record open for a week or so, we won't ever be assembled like this again to before you make your selection and submit it to, I believe, the State Capitol Committee. And I note that they are, the other one is not meeting tomorrow, it's canceled. Oh, sure, thanks. And with the legislature's failure to pass capital budget, my question, finally got to the question, will you be holding off the detailed design until funding for consideration is assured? Or will you proceed with demolition? And finally, I just want to understand your approach to public process and public participation. I don't recall, could be wrong, but I don't recall any opportunity for the public to weigh in before you issued your RFP. In other words, to tell you what they wanted. Secondly, I'm wondering if you made any changes to your requirement based on comments received last November. And thirdly, it seems that there will be no opportunity for the public to compare notes on their impressions of this project and the three alternatives, let alone any embellishment ideas they may have that would stray outside of these three boxes. So finally, if you haven't gotten the thrust of my questions and comments, are you committed to incorporating public input into this project?
I'd like to just say the short answer to that question, your last question, is yes, we are committed to that, and that's why we're having this meeting tonight, among other things. I'm going to turn part of your question over to other DDS staff, I think, and it's such a big question, I don't think we're going to try and answer it all tonight. We'll try and get back to you in writing and post this on our website. But one thing I want to mention is when we select one of these submittals, we are not done, we are beginning. These are schematic level designs. We will not be building these the next day, regardless of what process we follow. So there is, by definition, a very long period of time for design development. And much can happen in that, and that can include public input. So I don't think anyone should think of these submittals that they see tonight as the exact thing that is going to be built on that site. It is a beginning. It is not an end. Some of your other questions, they're difficult for me to answer, and I think I would just go back to comments made by Director Liu, which is we are moving ahead. We are looking at options, and we do have more than one option, I think. I can't be specific about what we're going to decide to do because we is a lot more than me. It's the whole state. Tom, would you care to add anything to that? Or?
Well, I think, first of all, it would be good to get your questions down on paper and submitted to us so we can respond to them each one. It's very important for us to look at this process as one that will take work from the Office of Financial Management, the legislature, and others as we go forward. This is the beginning of a process. We still have a capital budget that was appropriated in the 2013-15 biennium that wasn't amended or changed by the supplemental. There's been a lot of opinions expressed, but there's still a law that's sitting in force right now that we are working through. There are a lot of decisions that will be made over the next few weeks, and I can't speculate as to what those answers will be, but as soon as we get them, we'll let you know and keep the public informed. So that's
right. But I think, again, just to end the way we started, yes, the reason we're having this meeting, the reason we had an open house in November, the beginning of this process was to capture public comment, questions, and try and incorporate the public and the community in this process. Thank you. And we'll see those get answered and posted on the website. Any other questions before we launch the teams? Yes.
How much consideration have you given or will be given to the maintenance aspects of the building that would require or allow current state employees and workers to maintain the building that you're contemplating? And would you be amenable to a capital budget that perhaps put in language to keep those jobs for the existing state employees?
Well, maintenance is an important criteria. You'll notice, I don't have the slide up there, but you'll notice that the word maintenance was in one of our evaluation criteria. So we're scoring these buildings partly on how easy they are to maintain. And that's part of the value they provide. I think there's some things in that question I can't answer as far as hiring policies, but I can tell you this. Internally, we've had subject matter experts from various groups across campus help us review these submittals, even though those people aren't necessarily voting members. And some of those people have been people that are primarily concerned with building operations and maintenance. So we are trying to go to the owners or users of this building, as well as other stakeholder groups, and get their input to help us understand the value embodied in the submittals to the state. And if I didn't answer the whole question, I encourage you to submit it again online.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Is the project going through a permitting process which allows for public comment?
Is the project going through a permitting?
Normal permitting process?
So the question is the project going through a normal permitting process that allows for public comment? Is that right? So several things. On April 1st, there will be a public hearing for the alley vacation. There's an alley that runs down the middle of this site from north to south, and we're asking the city to turn that public right-of-way over to us so we can use it for the building. That is a public hearing at council chambers. I'm not sure of the time. It's in the evening. Just check the website for the city of Olympia. Anyone is free to come there and comment, and I think we will have a brief presentation on the submittal at that point, we believe we will have selected a parent-linked submittal, and we can talk more specifically about the public benefits that we think that submittal offers to both the city and the community at large. And then, as far as other permits go, absolutely. There's nothing special about this project in terms of building permits. It's going to go through every kind of permitting process that any normal building would go through, and with all of the ancillary opportunities for public input and review and discussion. So, does that answer the question? Okay. If there's nothing else, I know the first team is anxious to launch, so I'll turn it over to them. And if there's any, if we have any time at the end, which I'm beginning to doubt, we might try to wrap up with a few more questions. But for now, I'd like to introduce Hoffman Construction, Belay Architects, and GVD Architects team to you. We randomly selected the order of these teams, so don't take anything special from first, second, third. That's not the way they're finishing, so necessarily. So, but you guys take it away.
I just want to say a couple of words as we get started here. I'm Lyle Martin, Vice President of Hoffman Construction. We started this process late October, and here we are, just about wore out at the finish line, but we're happy to be here. Our team is a little different. I want to talk to that briefly. Before I do that, Representative Dunshee is here in the office. I'd like to say thanks for all the effort that he put forward in this project to get to this point. So we have two architects, and we did that for a reason. Hoffman we've done these design build projects are a little unique, and we've had two highly successful projects with Belay, and we felt they were the right partner for this project. But at the same time, this is a high-performance building. There were certain aspects of it that we felt GVD Architects, who we've done several projects in the Portland area, was the fit for that. So we literally went to those two firms and asked them to join together and team up on this project, and they did that. And I think tonight you're going to see why that was a really good decision on our part. They really produced something exciting. The other thing is, because it's a high-performance building, we thought it was very important that we have an integrated mechanical, electrical, plumbing, sprinkler, AV, integrated design-build subcontract on board. And there's really only one of those in the Northwest, and that's McKinstry. In addition to that, they are one of the premier energy services contractors in the entire country. And with the 5-year energy guarantee in this building, that was a big part of that. So not only do we have two great architects, but we have probably the best mechanical, electrical, design-build contractor in the country in our team. So with that, we'll turn it over to Michael. We're going to jump right into what we've been working on.
Yeah, like Lyle said, we're going to jump right into it. We're given 30 minutes to take you on our tour here. So we're going to start with the inside of the building first and kind of talk to you about what that's going to be. It's going to be almost 800 state employees, so a lot of people in this building. Then we're going to take you through how this building is fitting on the Capitol campus and into the city of Olympia. When we started this project back in, October, November, we were given these program goals by the state. They wanted an efficient building, quality building. A building that was flexible, that could grow and change over time. A building that could house 24-hour operations in certain departments, as well as make a safe and secure building. One that was very energy efficient and high performing. And all of these apply to the programmatic elements, in addition to goals that they had of how this building is going to fit within the campus context. We were given an extensive program. It was about 212,000 square feet with 3 different departments, mostly Washington State Patrol, Office of Financial Management, and legislative agencies. And we knew right away that we were going to have to carve away at this building, cut a hole in it to really create a dynamic workplace. And by dynamic, we mean, not only does this have a wow factor, like this is a fun place to come and work, but dynamic in that it's changing, it's flexible, it can adapt over time. So what we've done here, you can see the basic building diagram. We have 2 bars of office that are indicated in blue. And we carved away the middle of the building and we put an atrium. Atrium not only brings light into the building, but it becomes a social hub for the building. You can see the red dashed lines here are the open walkways into the atrium. What we really did was take those common elements of the building and push them to the center of the building. All these elements are conference rooms. We moved the lounge area into the space. Humans by nature are very social. The way we work today is much different than it was 20 years ago. So people are more social, have more meetings throughout the day. So what we've done is taken all of these common spaces and pushed those into the middle of the building.
And the result, of course, is that we make it a very interactive space, and a space that's filled with light and activity, so to increase and benefit the quality of life of the people who are living in that space.
Typically, a full block building, which this is, you end up with everybody fighting over, I want that window seat. What the atrium space does is really bring that natural daylight into the space and make it a much better quality workspace for the majority of the building. We're going to kind of stack through the building. This is the lower level. This building is actually kind of 5 stories on the north side. You can see what we've done here is the program for the lower level is mostly Washington State Patrol. There's 3 different departments down there. We have a secondary secure entrance to the building along Union Avenue there. Partly because people are going to be parking around on all sides of the building, but also, gesture back towards the city. We've also indicated a retail area. It may not be retail, but it's an opportunity to contribute back to Capital Way. We also thought, that could be a space for something like a tribute to fallen Washington State Patrol. But it's a flex space and opportunity to really have a front on the city.
We'll talk a little bit about that when we get into the integration of the building into the site and how it relates to the city itself.
Moving up through the building, this is the primary level of the building. You can see on the southwest corner, facing the campus quad, we have our main entrance. The entrance is set back on 2 different sides. It's a double height entrance space leading directly into the lobby space. There's a security desk at this location, and connected to that is the first floor of the atrium. And that's really meant to kind of connect the outside and the inside. Very welcoming space. The atrium would be filled with tables and chairs and stuff of that sort. We've actually also cut a hole in the atrium at that level, so the atrium actually connects all 5 floors of the building. If you do enter on that lower level, come up through the stairs, you would be in the center of the building. Washington State Patrol has the criminal records and human resources departments on that level. And the green areas are the common conference rooms for the building. Moving up the building, there's the Office of Financial Management, which is in the purple area here, and the Washington State Patrol areas. You can see the green areas are, again, those shared conference rooms. The idea was bringing all of those common spaces into a very central location in that heart, that hub of the building in the atrium. Stacking up to the 3rd floor, you might notice that the atrium is actually getting wider as it goes up. That allows more daylight to come in, more access to it, but it also allows those open walkways that are facing out into the atrium to actually be connected to one another. You could look down and see people moving. The orange is vertical circulation. We have an open stair connecting all of those floors, and at the tops and bottoms of the stairs is the open lounge area, which is basically a break area. And what that does is really help connect all these departments and really become that social hub, that living room of the building. Moving up to the 4th floor is all Washington State Patrol groups. I think there's 5 or 6 up here. We've actually set the building back on that south and east faces to create a roof terrace. This terrace would then look back over the campus quad. It's south facing, so those 3 good months of weather that we get here would be a nice space. The break area shifts from the atrium space actually to be on that roof terrace, so it is a common amenity for all of the 800 tenants as well. The roof actually projects over that roof deck area, so in those 9 months of rain like we get today, it will still be a usable space. And we also worked really hard with McKinstry, the mechanical engineer on the team, to really reduce how much rooftop mechanical we have. We really want to use that as an opportunity to add PV to the project, a renewable energy source project. You can see in the diagram on the right how the building stacks up, and the yellow area is the atrium. You can really see how that really connects all these departments. Really becomes the living room and hub and energy, the focal point of the building. In addition to those spaces that you saw in the atrium, I wanted to talk about the different types of spaces, interaction spaces that are throughout the building. Within the tenant spaces, we've held some areas off of the windows to create wide spots kind of in the corridor where people can get up from the desk and people meet a lot differently than they did 20 years ago in an office building. So really creating those opportunities and those different scales of meeting places. It may just be person to person, it may be person to a team. There's creating a variety of these spaces. You can see here, these are all the spaces available for the different tenants within the building. Again, those are pushed to that atrium space. The break area and lounge, we have wide spots in the corridor where you have a couple of pair of chairs and some tables, as well as flushing the conference rooms out there. These are available to all the visitors. The large area here is the main entrance to the building, and with the security desk located here, security has visibility to anybody entering the building, and also to the foyer outside of the auditorium space. The intent would be that that atrium floor is available to everybody. You would check in and go through security. Here we have a section of what this atrium is, kind of see what the character is. We really want to bring some warmth, some wood to the area. You can see how the walkways step back as you go up. Those are open walkways with the tenant demising the walls behind those. And all of those walls will have high clerestory windows, allowing that natural daylight coming in from the atrium to be brought into the office space in a controlled way.
I think you notice too that all those the balconies that are surrounding the atrium space have seating, are wide enough for seating areas for, again, for more of that collaborative and flexible interaction goes on with the room.
And it really does, the transparency of this atrium, the Washington controls that are stacking up on this north side here, you're really able to see the activity going on in the building. It's really inspiring and energetic space. This is a view from, I believe, the third floor open lounge. You can see the connecting stair going up to the fourth and down to the second with lounge tables and their informal meeting spaces.
I thought it was very important that as those stairs cascade down, you notice that each of the landings is actually a wide collaborative area for meetings, so that flow of traffic and flow of activity continues through the collaborative spaces.
And actually project into the atrium space. So you're in that space. You can see off to the left, these are the cluster conference rooms that stack on every floor, so easy to get to. Another view of that atrium space, kind of looking back, those are the conference rooms. There's 3 on each floor, stacking all 4 floors there. We're going to talk a little bit about how this building fits into the context.
Right. So, next slide. Yeah. So, as you know, our site is located at the edge of the historic campus, and it is facing downtown to the north. Right? So, the challenges that we have is how do you create a building that works in the transition between the two very, very, very different qualities and contexts, right? The very formal campus and the very informal city of Olympia. So let's talk a little bit about integration into the site. So what you see here obviously is not what you see on campus now, if you were to look at it. What this drawing is of is the 2009 master plan for reintegrating or recreating the original Olmsted plan for the historic campus. And hopefully, within the next couple of years, that's going to be implemented. So for us, for our design, this is really what we needed to integrate into so that our project would become part of the whole composition of the campus. Part of the significant parts of the Olmsted plan are the surrounding street trees, which of course we are on that periphery, so those street trees would be continued around our building. The other significant points of the Olmsted plan is that as you transition through the varying landscape elements, the surrounding street trees, the naturalistic outer campus area, and the more formal gardens around the buildings themselves, you have a series of very important transitional notes. And so we have included that in our design too. So you can see the open public space here at the southwest corner. That creates another transitional node as you come off the circulation path that's already there as part of the Olmsted plan. And this creates a transition point either between our building or hopefully whatever happens on the GA side. And closes that loop as you exit the campus. We've also added a secondary node at the city side, the city part. And we talked a little bit earlier about possibility of either retail space or a public space or a public interactive space at that corner. And so that node there at the corner of Union and Capitol Way would act as that transitional node as well. So it all connects into the overall Olmsted master plan.
And I think, in support of the Olmsted plan was, he was trying to create a sequence of hierarchy of spaces. So what we've done, with the future of the GA building to really enforce that, as well as the roof deck, really kind of taking that hierarchy of spaces, including our building in it at an elevated level as well. I think that's going to be a really great opportunity.
View corridors and axes that the Olmsted plan established are critical to the overall composition. And so the roof deck allows those views back onto the campus. Next slide. Landscape, you can see how the street trees are surrounding the building. You can see how in the southwest corner, the transitory node that focuses direction into the building from the circulation path. That will be strengthened through landscape elements such as stone benches, natural materials used throughout, and landscaping to connect back to the home campus.
And you can see in the landscape plan, we go from a very large space to the open public plaza where our entrance is recessed. You can enter on two sides. You go through a compression zone where the security desk is, and then you pop back up into this 4-story meeting space. Here you can see a couple sections cut through the campus. You can see the scale of our building relative to the GA building at the top. Again, we're holding to that 59-foot height limit that was imposed on us, which really sets the data for the supporting buildings of the campus. You can see the bottom slide, the state capitol in the dome is in no way challenged by the height of our 59-foot building on the lower right there.
So the materials that we use and the massing and forms are also a very critical element. Facing the formal campus, the main facade is of limestone, matching in texture and color and finish. You also see that the rhythm that we've established on the building is reminiscent of the rhythm, verticality that exists in the historic building.
So you can see the overhead projecting canopy that covers the roof deck. It also forms the main entrance, a very prominent entrance to the building.
Again, that formal limestone facade wraps around the building at the 3-story level, but then drops down as you get toward the city in relation to the 2-story buildings that really surround the building, the Olympia side.
It's really a transitional facade. You're changing the scale of Capitol Way. As you move to the north side, we get a little bit more playful. We have a curtain wall system, glass curtain wall system. That gets a little bit more playful in the patterning. The scale changes. We still maintain that stone base throughout the building. So as you walk around the building, you still have that same sense of quality material of the stone of the campus. And then the building steps back at the upper levels, really trying to reduce that wall between the city and the campus. The west elevation, you can again see how that's transitioning back. You can see the entrance to the building again on that southwest corner. We've placed the building core, which is the mechanical rooms and elevators, things that don't have as much need for glazing. And we're really using the building elements to really help with the performance of the building. This side of the building is going to get a lot of that afternoon sun, and by putting these elements here, we don't have to cool the building quite as much. View just from the north side, looking up Capitol Way. You can see the building and they have the dome in the background. You see that curtain wall system above. Stepping back, becoming a much more lighter and transparent system. Entrance to the building as seen from the campus quad. You see clearly defined entrance with the columns there. And we have an animation for you, kind of give you a fly through of what the building looks like, and we're going to fly you into the atrium and give a sense of what that is as well.
So this is heading north at Capitol Way.
Spinning around, you can see how the scale of the building changes a little bit, adapts to the influence of the city of Olympia. You're going to have great views open. There's the water glazing on that north side. You see Bud Inlet, the city of Olympia, with great views from that side. You can see the fourth floor roof deck again, looking back onto the Capitol campus. Open public plaza and opportunities for public art. Immediately upon entering the two-story building, there you can see the security desk on the right side and into that atrium space. We see that as work tables and lounge chairs as an active space where people want to take their laptops and go work. You see the cascading connecting stair connecting all the floors. Again, lots of opportunities to come out into that space, to leave your desk. Not everybody wants to sit at their desk for 8 hours a day. Or 10 hours. Conference rooms facing out into the atrium space. And ending in one of those break areas, conference stairs. So that's a little bit of a summary of the inside and the outside of the building. And we have Mike from McKinstry going to talk to you a little bit about how this building performs. It's not only efficient and a beautiful building, but a very high-performing building as well.
Good evening. I'm Mike Lizzle with McKinstry Company, Vice President, and I'll be the project executive on this project. One of the things Lyle mentioned when he was talking about our firm is that we do both the mechanical and the electrical design in-house. And that gave us a really great opportunity to try some exciting ideas out on this particular building. One of the things that we noticed right away was we had an interesting roof. So what we did was we said, let's build a mechanical system that's easy to maintain, understandable by the general public, and I think there was a question here earlier about be able to maintain it. We're projecting that this would be an modern overhead VAV system, high-performance chillers, high-performance air handlers, series fan power boxes, and that would make up about 1/3 of the energy savings in the project. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to put PV panels, photovoltaic panels, up on the roof. The reason we did that was because the design of the roof allowed us to easily place the panels and we had enough room. We have about 290 kW worth of electricity to be generated by these panels. So that's another thing. The other thing that we're going to do is all the lighting in the building is going to be LED, and each one of the fixtures would be addressable. So that if you took the atrium, for example, there'll be a certain amount of light that would come in through the atrium and from the outside. There'll be sensors in each one of the areas that will modulate and move that LED lighting, so that once the looms is established for that particular area, it'll always be there. I mean, if you can imagine in your office today, like mine is, if it's a sunny day and the lights are on, they probably don't need it. And with LED lighting, we can modulate and adjust that lamp lighting and save a lot of time. So there were 5 main points that were addressed in the RFP for this building as goals for the mechanical system. One was it had to achieve a LEED gold, and we did that easily. We had to be 30% better than ASHRAE 90.1. We beat that. We had to exceed the ASHRAE standard 55. That was achieved. We had to have an ENERGY STAR rating of 90 or better. We actually scored 100. And an EUI of 25 to 40, and we're actually at 25. Well, this is the amount of energy that the building is going to be using based on the square footage of the building. So it's one way to look at energy efficiency. So the lower the energy units, the more efficient the building is. I mean, today, we see buildings in the 70s, 90s. And so part of our business today, our energy use, is to try to reduce the amount of energy used in the building. In fact, this building will be in the top 1% of office buildings in the United States if you pick this design. I'm pretty proud of that. So, met project targets in terms of energy. I think it's a simple mechanical and electrical system to own and operate, live in. We're going to be here for 5 years. We've got the energy guarantee on the building. We're going to make sure that all of these items we just listed are not only met, but better. And each year, we'll be scored on how well we did. And we'll come down on a monthly basis. At least in the first 6 months, we usually do weekly scores with our energy team. But as we get into occupancy, we'll start doing that on a monthly basis. But you'll actually see it. We'll be right there with you. You'll see how the building is performing. Is it right? Is it working the way we thought? Do we need to make adjustments? And we'll be there to do that. Okay?
Well, I think we've hit our 30 minutes, hopefully just right at 30 minutes. So we'd like to take any questions you might have, and we'll do our best to answer them. Okay, we also brought, we modeled the building in 3D, and we actually rendered it and have it on an iPad if you'd like to kind of virtually be in the atrium. It's kind of a cool experience. If you look the iPad up, you'll actually be looking at the ceiling of the building. If you look to the right, you would see what you would normally see. If you look down, it can be a little dizzying sometimes. You're actually floating in space looking at it. You can see what the use of that atrium floor would be. So those will be passed around, so feel free to look at those. But if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them. Yes.
Why didn't you decide to have the entrance on Capitol Way?
It was actually prescribed to be on 11th Avenue. We thought it was important. This is a primarily a state building, so that it made sense and fit with the master plan to put that entrance to the building along 11th Avenue.
Oh, it's on 11th. The main entrance is on 11th. I couldn't tell. What kind of interest is there on Capitol Way as far as windows and activity and that kind of stuff?
Michael, can we go back to that slide?
So this is the entrance to the building here, off of 11th and the main campus quad. You can see we have smaller windows at the lower level, at the street level, and those, as the grade falls away on actually, go back to this slide. Those windows follow as best they can, and then when you get down to where we have our lower level, we've actually pushed the building back, and there is a small plaza there that is occupied as well. This being a fairly narrow sidewalk and a busy street, we really did whatever we could to kind of limit and upgrade what that sidewalk experience was. Maintaining the existing street trees there as much as we could, and really creating a wide spot at this gateway.
So the public focus towards Olympia is really at the corner of Union and Catholic Way. We have a small plaza, we have terrace gardens, we have public gathering space. On 11th, we had the main entrance there because it more relates to the Catholic campus, and as part of that overall competition, we wanted that also part of the direction.
You might have to answer that question.
I'm curious if you could just talk a little bit more about the parking along 11th in particular, but we're not familiar with the requirements for that. There's not a lot of parking on the campus already. So with that association, 11th Avenue, right across from the Capitol campus, a whole row of new parking, I'd like you to talk a little bit about that.
That is actually solely accessible parking. That's all. It's just a row of accessible.
Sure.
And a drop-off area for the entrance to the building.